All right, let's get started. Here at the Allen campus, we are currently using the Allen Heath ME-1 personal mixers for our musicians. And if you played at any of our other campuses, you may have used the little brother to this model, which is the ME-500s. This is the ME-1. And so there's a few differences here, but the layout is generally the same. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to translate what you know on the ME-500 to the one. So with that out of the way, let's just dive into it. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the master level knob. And this is going to be the level of your master overall output going from the 1/4 inch jack and the 1/8 inch jack. So what's nice about this model here is that you have a choice between an 1/8 and a 1/4 inch jack. Next, we're going to look at the level and the pan knob. Now, this is going to be the one you'll probably use the most. Anytime that you want to adjust the level of any of these key buttons here, or adjust the pan, can be done with this knob. To simply adjust the pan, you're going to want to push it in, hold it in, and then go side to side. And for the level, you just turn it up and down. No pushing required. We have 16 key buttons here, which we have already labeled and pre-programmed everything to get ready for the installation. So the main differences between the ME-500 and the ME-1s is that the ME-500s will allow you to do 16 mono or stereo channels. The ME-1s, on the other hand, will allow you to go up to 40 sources. And so obviously we have 16 key buttons here. And so Allen Heath has come up with a great solution called groups, which gets around that. So you might notice there's a group button right here. And anytime that you select any of these channels, that button will either light up or not. If it's lit up, you hit group, and then when it's blinking, you are currently in the group of your key button. And here you can find all of the channels or all the sources that are currently in that group. The level and the pan functions operate the exact same way in a group as they do on its own. So if you want to adjust something, you just simply push on the level and pan knob to select it, and then you just simply adjust the level and the pan. Don't forget to push down to pan. To exit the group, you hit the group button again, and now you are back on the overall group level page. To adjust the entire group, you just simply use the level knob. Next, we have the solo button. Anytime that you want to solo any of the 16 key buttons here, you just hit the solo button, and that's going to blink, and that's going to let you know that you are currently listening to just this specific key button. The same thing goes for the mute. Anytime you want to mute a specific key button, you hit mute, it'll light red, and now you have the kit muted. The next feature we're looking at here is the local mic knob. This will adjust the overall microphone volume coming into the built-in microphone that can be found right here next to the shift button. I recommend bringing this all the way down during services, but this is very useful during practices or rehearsals in order to hear each other when discussing order of service, order of songs, etc., etc. Now let's look at the LED display located here right in the center of the actual mixer. On the right, we have our metering for our master output that's coming to your headphones. If you find yourself peaking a lot, I do recommend trimming it down. This can be done with the trim all function of the level and pan. We'll go into that a little later. Then we have our actual level output, and then we have our name. This is an example for a group. If it's not a group, you'll see a pan option right here, and this will tell you where it's panned in your mix. Now let's talk about the shift button. You may notice there is some white text above some buttons. If you hit the shift option, this enables what the white text will say. As we stated earlier, there's a trim all function here. This is very useful for whenever you want more of yourself, but less of everything else. So you can hit the shift key, and then use the level and pan knob to simply bring down the level of all the key buttons here. For even more flexibility, if you hit the master key here, there's a 3-band EQ that is attached to your main output. If you find your mix to be too muddy or not enough low end, you can simply use the level and pan knob here to select the low band, and you can add or subtract. The same thing goes for the mid and the high. Everyone's in-ears are built differently and they have different drivers. And with different drivers, that means different kinds of quality. And so if you find your in-ears or your overall mix to be too much in a specific area, you can simply change that frequency right here by using this number, by pushing down as if you were panning, and simply scrolling to the desired frequency you want to boost or to cut. Let's say I want to get rid of my 840 Hertz range. I simply select the 840, and then I use the level and pan knob to boost or subtract. Next, we have the limiter here. I just recommend keeping this off. As of March of 2021, we have currently set up the key buttons for you guys. And as we add different inputs or change different things, we'll change the personal mixer's configuration accordingly. For now, we have a kit mix, which includes the kick drum, snare, tom 1, tom 2, Roland, and the overheads. You may notice that some channels are in stereo and some aren't. Some of these examples can be the overheads and the tracks, and I'll show you that later. Next, we have the bass. Then we have a guitar group. We can find EG1A and B, EG2A and B. Then we have acoustic 1 and acoustic 2. Next up, we have our keys. We have keys and synth. These are both in stereo. So you may notice that it's not keys left and keys right, but just keys. These are stereo linked, and so now we don't have to have two separate channels for two separate levels to adjust a stereo instrument. Next up, we have our Voxes. These are all the vocalists that are available. We have our tracks. Right now, we are going to do 8 stem tracks, which involves the first 6 being stereo tracks, and then we have our click and our guide, which we call Q. Next up, we have Pastor Dustin. He gets his own key button. We also have the MC microphone. We also have the MD, which means musical director. We have any kind of incoming audio from the LED wall. We have an open button. So on the console, we have 2 open mixes, open 1 and open 2. These are for anything that we typically don't have on a Sunday or anything that we need to add at the last minute. Then we have our comms group. Here you'll find the MD as well. You'll also have the drum talkback, the front of house talkback, and then an actual comms mix from the console in case we need to add a couple of other things. You may notice I skipped over the aux in button. If you notice on the back, there's an 1/8 inch auxiliary input made for putting a laptop or an iPhone or an iPad straight into the mixer so you can play anything you want into the actual mixer itself. It is worth noting anything you put into the aux in does not send out to the other personal mixers, so it's only local to this mixer. Next, let's talk about presets. If you hold down the shift key and hit the recall button, this will allow you to store a preset, because it says store preset in the white text, to any of these selected buttons right here that are blinking. If they're not blinking, that means another preset has been stored on it, and I wouldn't recommend writing over it. Whenever you want to recall a preset, you just simply hold down the recall button and select any of the blinking highlighted buttons. If it's not blinking, that means you're currently on that preset. So for number 1, we made that the Allen default as of March 2021. Hit it again, and now you're on preset number 1. If you want to keep your preset with you, you can put in a USB on the back of this device and store and recall presets to your USB. This is really useful whenever you're going to campus and you want to keep your preset with you. It is worth noting that only the ME-500s can store and recall to other ME-500s, and vice versa with the ME-1. So you can't store and recall your ME-1 show to an ME-500 at the campuses. I hope this video has helped you out and that you learned a lot about this personal mixer and that you can fully use it to your advantage. If you have any questions whatsoever or any ideas or configurations that you want changed, feel free to reach out to us at the media department and we'll try to cater those needs.